Philadelphia. October 12, 2023, a day that began like any other. The sun was shining, people went about their business, but beneath the surface, a storm brewed, a storm of greed, desperation, and violence. At the Bank of America on South Christopher Columbus Boulevard, a Brinks armored truck pulled up, a routine stop. Little did the guard know he was walking into a carefully planned ambush. This wasn't just a robbery, it was a ticking time bomb, ready to explode. And when it did, it would leave behind a trail of chaos and unanswered questions. 2:30 p.m. The guard exited the truck. He carried with him a weight heavier than the bags of money. He carried the responsibility of security, the trust of his company, the safety of the public. As he made his way towards the ATM, two figures emerged from the shadows. Dressed in black, faces hidden behind ski masks, they moved with a practiced ease. They were hunters, and the guard, their prey. The element of surprise was their weapon. The seconds ticked by, each one bringing the city closer to the brink of chaos. A shout, a struggle. The air was thick with tension, the kind that makes your heart race and your palms sweat. It was a moment that would test the resolve of everyone involved. The quiet afternoon erupted in violence. What had been a peaceful day turned into a scene of chaos and fear. People scattered in all directions, their faces masks of terror as they tried to escape the unfolding nightmare. The robbers struck with brutal efficiency. They moved with a precision that spoke of careful planning and ruthless intent. Every action was calculated, every movement designed to instill fear and ensure compliance. One grabbed the money bags. His hands moved quickly, stuffing the bags with cash as if he had done it 1,000 times before. The weight of the money was nothing compared to the weight of the moment. The other, wielding a handgun with an extended magazine, aimed at the guard. The cold metal of the gun gleamed in the afternoon light, a stark contrast to the dark intentions behind it. But the guard fought back. His training kicked in, and he moved with a determination born of necessity. He knew that his life, and the lives of others, depended on his actions in the next few moments. He wouldn't be an easy target. His stance was firm, his eyes locked onto the threat before him. He was ready to defend himself, no matter the cost. He wrestled with the gunman, a desperate dance of life and death. A shot rang out. The sound was deafening, echoing through the streets and sending shivers down the spines of those who heard it. The bullet ripped through the air, tearing into the guard's side. Pain exploded in his body, but he refused to go down. He clung to consciousness, driven by sheer willpower and the need to survive. The gunman's weapon, a tool of chaos, betrayed him. In the heat of the moment, it malfunctioned, a twist of fate that turned the tide of the struggle. It malfunctioned, falling apart in his hands. The look of shock on the gunman's face was almost comical, a brief moment of vulnerability in an otherwise brutal encounter. Enraged, the robber kicked the guard, a blow aimed at his head. The force of the kick sent the guard sprawling, but he managed to protect his head, minimizing the damage. They grabbed the guard's firearm. Desperation and fury fueled their actions as they sought to regain control of the situation. Then, as quickly as they appeared, they vanished. The street, once a scene of chaos, was now eerily quiet. The robbers had melted into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of fear and uncertainty. A dark-colored Chevy Malibu, engine already running, waited nearby. The getaway driver, a phantom in the story, had played their part. The robbers jumped in, the car screaming away into the labyrinthine streets of Philadelphia. Witnesses, stunned into silence by the brazen act, could only watch in disbelief. The echo of the gunshot faded, replaced by the wail of approaching sirens. The calm facade of the city had been shattered. The injured guard, his blood staining the pavement, clung to life. He had stared down death and lived to tell the tale. But the robbers were gone, swallowed by the city they had just violated. Section 5. Whispers in the Shadows, Unraveling the Motive. The audacity of the crime sent shockwaves through the city. This wasn't a random act. It was a carefully planned operation, executed with precision. But why? What motivated this brazen attack? Theories swirled like the autumn leaves. Some whispered of an inside job. The robbers seemed to know the guard's schedule, the security protocols. Had someone within the Brinks company betrayed their trust? Others pointed to the involvement of organized crime. Armored truck robberies were their trademark, a way to fund their illicit empires. Was this heist another notch on their belt? Section 6. The Long Arm of the Law. The investigation begins. The Philadelphia Police Department, joined by the FBI, launched a full-scale investigation. Every lead, every witness, every piece of evidence was scrutinized. The pressure was on. The city demanded answers. Justice demanded action. They found the getaway car abandoned in West Philadelphia, a silent testament to the crime. Forensics combed it for clues. hoping to find a fingerprint, a hair, anything that would lead them to the perpetrators. The FBI released photos of the suspects, their faces obscured by masks, their identities a mystery. A reward was offered for information. The hunt was on. Section 7. Echoes of silence. Unanswered questions linger. Months turned into years. The investigation continued, but the trail seemed to run cold. Despite the relentless efforts of the police, every lead seemed to end in a dead end. The detectives, who once brimmed with hope and determination, now found themselves grappling with frustration and doubt. The city of Philadelphia, once bustling with the news of the heist, slowly began to forget. But for the few who remained dedicated to solving the mystery, the unanswered questions were a constant reminder of their failure. The robbers had vanished without a trace. The money, presumed stolen, was never recovered. It was as if they had simply disappeared into thin air. Theories abounded, each more outlandish than the last. Some believed the robbers had fled the country, living a life of luxury in some far-off land. Others thought they might be hiding in plain sight, blending seamlessly into the fabric of the city. But no matter the theory, one fact remained: the money was gone, and so were the robbers. The silence was deafening. Who were these masked men? Their identities remained a mystery, shrouded in the darkness of that fateful night. The sketches, though detailed, offered little help. They were just faces without names, shadows without substance. The public, once eager for answers, grew weary of the endless speculation. The media too moved on, leaving the case to gather dust in the annals of unsolved crimes. Were they seasoned criminals or desperate amateurs? The question haunted the investigators. If they were professionals, their meticulous planning and execution suggested a level of sophistication that was both impressive and terrifying. If they were amateurs, their audacity and luck were nothing short of miraculous. The FBI's profiles painted a picture of individuals who were both cunning and ruthless, but without concrete evidence, it was all just conjecture. Were they driven by greed, by desperation, or by something more sinister? The motives behind the heist were as elusive as the robbers themselves. Greed seemed the most obvious answer, but there were whispers of something darker. Some speculated that the heist was a cover for a larger, more nefarious plot. Others believed it was an act of desperation, a last-ditch effort by individuals with nothing left to lose. But without answers, these theories remained just that, theories. The answers remained elusive, locked away in the labyrinth of the city's underworld. The investigation board, once filled with promising leads and potential suspects, now stood as a testament to the case's complexity. Each photo, each note, was a piece of a puzzle that seemed impossible to solve. The detectives, though weary, refused to give up. They knew that somewhere, hidden in the shadows, were the answers they sought. The case, once a headline-grabbing sensation, faded from public view. The public's interest waned, and the media moved on to the next big story. The courtroom, once filled with the buzz of anticipation, now stood empty. The press conferences, once a flurry of activity, were now just memories. But for those who had been touched by the crime, the case was far from over. But for those who had been touched by the crime, the memory lingered, a shadow cast over their lives. The victims, their families, and the detectives who had poured their hearts into the case were left with a void that could never be filled. The unanswered questions, the lingering doubts, and the haunting memories were a constant reminder of a night that changed their lives forever. The echoes of silence, the unanswered questions, and the lingering shadows would remain a testament to a mystery that may never be solved. Section 8, A City on Edge, The Unseen Scars of Crime. The Brinks truck robbery left an indelible mark on Philadelphia. It was a heist that shook the very core of the city, a brazen act that unfolded in the light of day, leaving citizens in a state of shock and disbelief. The audacity of the crime was matched only by its impact, reverberating through the streets and alleys, casting a long shadow over the community. It was a stark reminder that even in broad daylight, danger lurked. The bustling streets, once filled with the hum of daily life, now carried an undercurrent of fear. People moved with a sense of urgency, their eyes darting, their steps quickened. Surveillance cameras, once unnoticed, became silent sentinels, capturing the unease that had settled over the city. The city, once a symbol of brotherly love, seemed to have a darkness at its heart. Iconic landmarks stood under ominous skies, their familiar outlines now tinged with a sense of foreboding. The streets, in high contrast, revealed a city grappling with its new reality. Life continued, but with a tension that was palpable, a dramatic shift from the city's usual rhythm. The guard, his physical wounds healed, carried the emotional scars of that day. His eyes, once bright with the routine of his job, now held a shadow. In interviews, his voice would waver, the memories of the robbery still fresh, still raw. He was a living testament to the unseen scars that such a traumatic event could leave behind. The city, too, bore its own wounds. The crime scene, marked by police tape, became a somber landmark. Memorials sprang up, flowers and notes left by those who felt the impact of the crime deeply. The cityscape, once vibrant, now seemed to carry a weight, a collective grief that was hard to shake. The feeling of safety, once taken for granted, had been shattered. Nighttime brought empty streets, the usual nightlife subdued. People looked over their shoulders, a new vigilance in their movements. Doors that once stood open were now locked tight, a physical manifestation of the city's newfound caution. The robbery served as a wake-up call, a reminder that crime could touch anyone, anywhere, at any time. Press conferences were held, officials addressing the public with a mix of reassurance and urgency. Police cars, lights flashing, became a common sight, their presence a double-edged sword, both a comfort and a reminder of the city's vulnerability. It forced the city to confront its vulnerabilities, to acknowledge the darkness that existed alongside its vibrant spirit. Community meetings were held, bringing together diverse groups to discuss the path forward. The cityscape, now a mix of shadows and light, symbolized the duality of Philadelphia's spirit, resilient yet aware of its fragility. The unseen scars of crime had left an indelible mark, but they also sparked a determination to heal and rebuild. Section 9. Break the silence. Justice demands a voice. Today, the Philadelphia Brinks truck robbery remains unsolved. But the case is far from closed. The FBI is still actively seeking information, still hoping to bring the perpetrators to justice. Someone out there knows something. Someone saw something. The smallest detail, the most insignificant clue, could be the key to unlocking the mystery. If you have any information about the robbery, no matter how small, please come forward. Your call could be the one that breaks the silence, the one that brings closure to this chilling case. Justice demands a voice. Be that voice.